I myself and my wife, we are so much pleased to host you here at this, I think, impressive, gorgeous Turkish embassy residence. This is not a self-styled statement, as you can imagine. For all of you, you've seen this place. This is really a fantastic place that we are very much proud of, and it has, I think, a great relevance to the history of the United States, to the history of Turkey, and to the history of our relationship altogether. So this is a treasure for all of us, not only for Turks, but for the Americans as well. So we are proud of it. And actually, before we start, I would like to extend our, I think, very warm regards to and recognize some of our guests whom we were, their presence really honored us. First, Senator Bill Graham. Sir, thank you for coming. And my very dear friend, a great lady, a legend of at least our relationship, Congresswoman Constance Morella. Also, we will, for the same token, to all congressional staff who are here to celebrate our shared cultural treasure, which is jazz. And it is a great honor to have with us once again another good, iconic lady. She is, I am so much honored, and I'm so much thankful to her, Mika Ertegun. Mika, she has given us an unyielding support from the very beginning until today. I cannot thank you enough, Mika. Thank you so very much. And tonight we are also honored to have Mrs. Reha Kutlu Hutin, who is the daughter of Orhan Kutlu, the first secretary who worked with Ambassador Mehmet Ertegun, father of Ahmet Suhi. Please, Mrs. And we have also, again, but all of you are my friends, but as the United States, this country is more equal among equals. So some of my friends are more equal among equals. So you should appreciate it and understand it. So I have here one of my very, very close friends, Dan Mariashin, and his wife. Thank you for coming and joining us. And we have, of course, many friends from the State Department, we have a department which we are accountable to. Actually, our first counterpart and the director, Eric Rubin, with his wife, is also here tonight with us. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our event today comes on the heels of the UNESCO's International Jazz Day, celebrated on April 30th. It's through the good efforts of UNESCO, the UN, and hopefully, in our small part, the Turkish Embassy here in Washington. We are all raising awareness of the role of jazz music in bridging differences and promoting international understanding. As I hope you all know by now, the link between Turkey and the jazz is strong. Indeed, the Washington embassies has continuously reinforced our bond with the jazz community in the city. I am, for example, a member of the board of directors of the Howard Theater, and was pleased to be there last month for the grand reopening. I wish you were there. I mean, it was a remarkable evening. The Howard Theater played a huge role in the cultural life of Washington, D.C. during the 20th century. And it will now make a new contribution to the 21st century. I would like to recognize Mr. Chip Ellis, who took the lead in bringing the Howard Theater back to life after many decades. He's done a wonderful job. He was supposed to be here, but he's not. I don't know why. Maybe something popped up and he couldn't make it, but I think he's a great, great gentleman. I think who's worked for the good of jazz and all jazz legacy. It was at the Howard Theater where Ertegun brothers met and cultivated their own interests in great jazz talents of their time. It enticed them organized informal jam sessions here at the residence. Thanks to our partnership with Jazz at Lincoln Center, we're also trying to showcase great jazz talent as the Erteguns did decades ago and enliven these rooms with the wonderful sounds of jazz. Tonight, we are especially pleased and thrilled to have one of the most exciting talents emerging on the jazz scene today. Jonathan Batiste and the Stay Human Band have been performing jazz greats across this country, and they have cultivated a distinctive sound that reflects the marvelous New Orleans jazz scene. I was also pleased to hear that just last week they performed at the Istanbul Cafe in New Orleans. How many of you seen New Orleans? Just raise your hands. Oh, so.
How about you see Istanbul?
That's great, great. So, so you see, Turkey and jazz are inextricably linked in ways we don't expect, even outside Washington. And ladies and gentlemen, I would be remiss if I don't mention another iconic American name in my remarks, the Coca-Cola Company. Thanks to Coca-Cola's support, we are able to continue with Ertegun Jazz Series this year. In that regard, most of the credit should go to Mr. Muhtar Kent, the chairman and the CEO of Coca-Cola, a Turk. But most importantly, he's my friend, very close friend. And I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to my dear friend Muhtar for his support enabling us on with this series. I would also like to thank Mr. Clyde Tuggle, Senior Vice President of Coca-Cola, who couldn't be here with us, and to the members of Coca-Cola's Washington team. Thank you. Before I turn to the musicians, you know, I did wait until this time to recognize one probably I don't know how to put into words. I think our co-host, when I first visited him, it was 2 years ago. 2 long years ago. Congressman John Conyers. Waited and waited and waited until the very last moment, not to mention his name, because again, and with all due respect to all of you, he's more equal among equals too. So when I visited him before starting this whole series of jazz, he looked at me and said, you know, in his office, said, this young guy came to me as ambassador for a regular jazz event. You know, he said some good words, but that's all about it. I said, Mr. Congressman, please, you know, you should come and see that you should see the place, you should see the venue, you should see our residence. Then you will understand. And he said, okay, I will come. Well, I made it. I convinced him, and one day he was so gracious, I mean, to come and join us for a lunch, and we did. I mean, it's not easy to get so much of any congressman or any congresswoman, any Congress, only representative, but he was, I think, so great in joining us and accepting our offer to be a co-host to this event. And believe me, since then, since that lunch, he told me one thing. He said, just count me on every single jazz session. So I wasn't expecting him today, but he came. Thank you. Thank you so very much. He's our hero. Thank you. And also, I think one latecomer here, also a great statesman, and I think a friend of Turkey, and I should also recognize him, Secretary Chertov. Thank you, sir, for coming and being with us. So, before I turn it over to the musicians, of course, I know that you're getting tired, but I'd like to call upon a dear friend, Professor Morris Jackson, and who's an associate professor of history and African American studies, and affiliated professor of performing arts at jazz at Georgetown University, to say a few words. He can tell you some great stories about jazz, but also about Turkey's role, and Ertegun Brothers' role in jazz here during their Washington heyday. I do wish you an excellent evening, and encourage you to stay on after the performance for a reception, with, or in order for you to enjoy the wonderful Turkish specialties. Thank you very much. Thank you.